Aba Abdullah. The ulama say there were 3 moments in Karbala where Aba Abdullah nearly died. The first of them was when his son Ali Akbar came and said to him, my father, let me go out and defend you. Ahadith say normally Aba Abdullah, what would he do? Normally he'd plead with the person. He'd say to him, no, they want to kill me, they don't want to kill you. Man, the ahadith say Aba Abdullah didn't have the strength to tell Ali Akbar. He had known that now it was a certainty. He embraced Ali Akbar one final time. He embraced him. Ahadith say that they began to cry when embracing each other. He then said to him, Ali, go back towards the tent, bid farewell to your mother, to your auntie Zainab. He went back in the tent, he went to bid farewell to his auntie Zainab. Then he came back out towards his father. As he was about to continue, his father came and said to him, come back. He said to him, what is it, my father? He said, do you know how difficult it is for a father to see his son walk away? My son Akbar, come towards me so that I may embrace you one final time. Ali Akbar came towards his father to embrace him. He then came out towards the battlefield and he called out, Ana Ali ibn al-Hussein ibn Ali, Nahnu wa baytillah awla bin Nabi, أطعنكم بالرمح حتى ينثني أضربكم بالسيف أحمي عن أبي ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي والله لا يحكم فينا ابن الدعي. Ahadith narrates to us that in the middle of the battlefield, he was fighting like a brave warrior. Nobody could come towards Ali Akbar. It's narrated in the hadith that he struck 120 of the opposition. Before he would turn around and he'd look at the father and he'd say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. He would continue fighting. All of a sudden he managed to return back to his father and he said to him, my father, the thirst of Karbala is killing me. My father, the heat of my armor isn't allowing me. His father said to him, Ali, my son, come near me. What did Aba Abdullah do? He took out his tongue and he placed it on the tongue of Ali Akbar so that Aba Abdullah would be able to give something to Ali Akbar. But Ali Akbar said to his father, oh my father, your tongue is drier than mine. I thought that I'm the thirsty one. But Aba Abdullah's tongue was even drier than Ali Akbar. He then looked at Ali Akbar. He said to him, my son Akbar, go out and fight. In a moment your grandfather Rasulullah will give you water from the pool of Kawthar. He turned around. He came out to defend his army. When he came out, he rode on his horse. Narrations say he continued to attack the army. Suddenly one of the army of Umar bin Sa'ad said, all the sins of the Arabs will be on my shoulders if I don't break the heart of Hussain ibn Ali. I'm going to go towards Akbar now and strike him. He went towards Ali Akbar. When he went towards Ali Akbar, he struck Ali Akbar towards the top of his head. Ali Akbar fell down on the front of his horse. His horse could not look which way it was going now. It could either go towards the army of Aba Abdullah, but it went towards the army of Umar bin Sa'ad. When it went towards the army of Umar bin Sa'ad, one after another they began to strike Ali Akbar. He called out, Assalamu alayka ya Abata, adrikni ya Aba Abdullah. Come towards me, Aba Abdullah. At this moment, he heard the cry. Sukaina bint al-Hussein narrates, she says, when my father heard the cry, he didn't go towards the direction of the cry. He went towards another direction. So I said to him, my father, what's wrong? He replied, Bunayya la talumini. My daughter, do not blame me for going to this direction. فإني لا أبصر بعيني. I do not see which way I am going. Ali Akbar. When he went towards him, he managed to reach Ali Akbar. Ali Akbar was on the ground. The poets give us a beautiful narration. The poets say it's as if Aba Abdullah, he saw Ali Akbar as he was coming. Ali Akbar said, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, with one hand, not with two hands. Why? Because was when Abu Abdullah came near him, what did he see? Abu Abdullah came near him. He saw one hand out, but the other was on the chest. He removed the hand. He saw a spear which had come through the chest of Ali Akbar. He turned around towards Najaf al-Ashraf and he said, "Oh my father Amir al-Mu'mineen, you are the one who lifted the gate of Khaybar, but you never had to take a spear out from the chest of your son. Come to Karbala and see what I have to see." It's narrated that when he came near Ali Akbar, he saw him smiling and he saw him crying. He wondered, why is he smiling and why is he crying? He said to him, "My son, why do you smile and why do you cry?" He said, "My father, I smile because I can see Rasulullah coming towards me. I could see Fatima al-Zahra. I could see Ali ibn Abi Talib. I could see my uncle Imam al-Hassan all coming towards me." He said to him, "My son, then why is it that you cry?" He said, "My father, because I see my grandmother Fatima al-Zahra coming towards me." He said to him, "Why do you cry?" He said, "Because for every tear that you shed, my father, I see my mother hitting herself when she sees you."
The narration states to us that Abu Fadl al-Abbas had pleaded with Abu Abdullah to allow him to go out and fight the opposition. Every time Abu Abdullah would receive the pleading of Abu Fadl, he'd keep telling him, "Remain patient and wait." Every time Abu Fadl al-Abbas would ask Abu Abdullah, "Allow me to go out," he would ask him, "Let me fight them, those who have killed my nephews." For they had killed Al-Qasim and they had killed Ali Akbar and they had killed Awn al-Muhammad. He wanted to go out and fight until he heard the cries of Sukaina bint al-Hussain. He heard her calling out, "Al-Atash, Al-Atash. The thirst is killing us." He came to Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah gave him permission to go out. He said to him, "I want you to go and get some water for Sukaina and for the other daughters of Rasulullah." He came out towards the battlefield. He went towards the river Furat. As he approached the river, the narration states to us that the soldiers surrounded Abu Fadl al-Abbas. When they surrounded Abu Fadl al-Abbas, they began to fight him. The narration states to us that he killed 83 of the opposition. He killed 83 of them. He got to the river Furat. When he got to the river Furat, he saw the water in front of him. Imagine for days you have been thirsty and now the drink of water lies in front of you. But he said his lines when he said, "How can I drink the syrup of cold water when my brother Hussein drinks the syrup of death?" He took that water, he put it in the flask, he went back on his horse. On his way back, Umar ibn Sa'ad had ordered his soldiers to sit on the trees so that they can envelope and they can engulf Abu Fadl al-Abbas upon his return. When he was returning, all of a sudden they began to surround him. One of them came and he struck the right hand of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. When he struck the right hand, Abu Fadl al-Abbas took the flask in his hands. He took it in his left hand. When he took it in his left hand, they struck him on his left hand. Now Abu Fadl al-Abbas carried the water in his mouth. He was trying to hold on to the flag at the same time. He was sitting on the horse. When he was sitting on the horse, the narration states to us that somebody came and struck Abu Fadl al-Abbas with an arrow on his eye. Imagine the scene for Abu Fadl al-Abbas without his hands, and now with an arrow on his eye. He called out, "Abu Abdullah, adrikni, aghithni, come towards helping me." One of the scholars narrates an incident. He says that when he had given the majlis of Abu Fadl al-Abbas, in his dream he saw Fatima al-Zahra. When he gave this majlis, he saw Fatima al-Zahra crying. He said, after I had given the majlis of Abbas, when I had seen her crying, I wondered why she was crying. I asked her, have I said something wrong in my majlis that you cry? She said, no, you haven't. He said to her, then what is it? She said, whenever you recite the Masa'ib of Abu Fadl al-Abbas, I want you to mention one line. He said, what is it? She said, normally when somebody falls off their horse, they normally have their hands in front of them. But when Abu Fadl fell from his horse, he fell straight down without his hands in front of him. He was lying on the ground alone. Abu Abdullah rode his horse. The narration states Abu Abdullah rode that horse like he had never ridden before. But on his way that horse stopped. When it stopped, he wondered, why is this horse stopped? He got off his horse. He saw the right hand of Abu Fadl on the ground. He came and he picked up that hand. He continued on the horse stopped again. Again he wondered, why is this horse stopped? He saw the left hand of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. He saw the left hand of Abu Fadl al-Abbas on the ground. He came near Abu Fadl. Abu Fadl didn't know who it was who had come near him. All he had said to him is, I beg you to allow me to speak to my master Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah came, he took the head of Abu Fadl al-Abbas. When he took the head of Abu Fadl al-Abbas, removed his head. Abu Abdullah put the head back, he removed it again. Abu Abdullah said to Abu Fadl, why is it that you remove your head? He said to him, because at this moment you have my head, whereas in a few moments who will carry the head of Abu Abdullah? Look at that selflessness of this man. And then he said to him, do you mind if I call you my brother for the first time? I want to have the honor of calling you my brother rather than calling you my master. Imagine how much this hurt Abu Fadl al-Abbas and how much it hurt Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah wanted to carry the body of Abu Fadl back, but Abu Fadl al-Abbas said to him, no, leave me here. He said to him, why? He said to him, I am ashamed to return to Sukaina. I promised her that I'd bring her some water, but I'm going to return without any water being there. Sayyid Mahdi Bahr al-Ulum, may Allah bless his soul, narrates that when they were reconstructing the grave of Abu Fadl al-Abbas in Karbala, he narrates that I was in charge of the reconstruction of the grave. He's the restructuring of the grave. He said when I was in charge, the people were coming, they were looking after this grave. He narrates that when they were looking after it, one of the builders came towards me. When he came towards me, he said to me, he said, you know, you say Abu Fadl al-Abbas was a tall man. He said to him, yes. He said, I'd like to question that. He said to him, why? He said, because we have been reconstructing his grave and the grave is very small. Sayyid Mahdi Bahr al-Ulum narrates that I began to cry in a way I've never cried before. He said to him, oh Sayyidi, why do you cry? He said, I wonder how many times they chopped the body of Abu Fadl. That his grave is that small, how did they come and strike his body? Inna lillahi wa inna.
Oh mothers, I leave this one for you now. He said to him, the third arrow that I struck towards the 6-month-old baby of Abu Abdullah. He said to him, Harmala, how was the arrow that you struck? Harmala replied by saying, the arrow that I use is the arrow we used to use to cut the neck of the camels in the desert. I asked Abu Abdullah, how does a 6-month-old baby contain it? He says, Umar bin Sa'ad turned round towards me. He said to me, Harmala, what are you waiting for? Abu Abdullah, he brought the 6-month-old baby forward. When he brought the 6-month-old baby, he looked towards Harmala. He looked towards him. He brought the baby and he said, will anyone give the baby water? The first time nobody gave water. He put the baby on the ground. Nobody gave water. He finally had the baby near him again. He had the baby, the 6-month-old. Mukhtar said to Harmala, what did you do? He said, Umar bin Sa'ad ordered me. He said, Harmala, what are you waiting for? Why don't you strike the 6-month-old? He said, at this moment I struck the 6-month-old baby of Abu Abdullah. Mukhtar said to him, what happened? What happened? What happened? When you struck the 6-month-old? He said, when I struck the 6-month-old, it began to flap its hands like a bird flaps its wings. And this moment, Abu Abdullah, when he saw the baby, he saw it move its hands like a bird flaps its wings. Abu Abdullah, he returned back to his tent, then he went back again, and then he returned, and he went back again, and he returned, and he went back again. Abu Abdullah done this 7 times. On each time he would say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Once and back, once and back. They asked Abu Abdullah, why do you go back to your tent 7 times? He said, I do not know how to tell a mother that her baby's neck has been opened. Brothers and sisters, these are the final moments now of the life of Imam Hussein. I'm going to now narrate to you the final moments of the life of Abu Abdullah. Abu Abdullah, I ask you for your intercession on the day of judgment and the intercession of your companions. Abu Abdullah, when the 6-month-old baby died, returned back to his tent. These are now the final moments. I am going to take you until the moment. Come with me now. All of you should be in Karbala. Your heart should be open. If your heart is not open, it's the heart of a stone. This is Abu Abdullah we are talking about now. Abu Abdullah returned back to the tent and he called out, Hal min Nasir yansuruna, Hal min Mughith yughithuna, Hal min Dhabi yadhubu an harami Rasulillah. He turned out and he said, where is Habib bin Madahir? Where is Muslim bin Awsaja? Where is Hur bin Yazid bin Riyahi? Where is my companions who would have served me? Abu Abdullah is alone now with nobody to help him. Abu Abdullah returned back to the tent when he called out, Hal min Nasir yansuruna. When he called out, Hal min Nasir yansuruna, Imam Zain al-Abidin was unconscious the whole of the battle of Karbala. He was very ill. He couldn't rise. As soon as he heard, Hal min Nasir yansuruna, he arose. Because this is a son and a father, and many of you here, many of you who do not have your fathers, remember them tonight. Imam Zain al-Abidin, he rose, he saw the woman crying. He saw the woman crying, he said, where is my father, Abu Abdullah? These are the final exchanges between the father and the son. When Imam Hussein came near him, he saw Imam Zain al-Abidin crying. Imam Zain al-Abidin's first question, because he didn't know what was happening outside the tent, Imam Zain al-Abidin's first question was, where is my uncle Abu Fadl Abbas? Oh Zain al-Abidin, your uncle Abu Fadl is by the Furat alone. He then said, where is my brother Ali Akbar? I want to see him. I say to Zain al-Abidin, your brother's body was put into pieces.
And this moment, Abu Abdullah tells Imam Zain al-Abidin, he says to him, my son, you are the Hujjah of Allah on earth. You have to remain patient and you have to protect your family. Abu Abdullah now calls Sukaina, and he calls Ruqayya, and he calls Sayyida Zainab, and he calls Kulthum, he calls Layla, and he calls Rabab. He calls them all one by one. He tells them, I have to bid you all farewell, my family. This is the hardest moment. He has to bid his family farewell. When he begins to bid them, he begins to embrace them one by one. As Abu Abdullah is about to leave the tent, a young girl comes and pulls at the robe of Abu Abdullah. He turns round, it's his young daughter Sukaina. Listen to what the poets say. Sukaina looked towards her father and said, Ya Abu Abdullah, do you remember when Hamida, the daughter of Muslim bin Aqil, died? You came and patted her head because she was an orphan. Oh my father, would you pat my head so that I feel the same? Would you pat my head so I feel the same? Abu Abdullah embraced his daughter Sukaina. He then was about to ride his horse. All of a sudden, a young girl came near the horse and said, Father, come and embrace me again. Who is it? It's his young daughter Ruqayya. I asked Ruqayya when you were in Sham and they brought you the head of Abu Abdullah. Till when you saw your father's head. Majul. Abu Abdullah now left the tent. As he was riding his horse, he heard a final cry. This is the one that hurts the most. Mahlan, mahlan, yabna Zahra. Sayyida Zainab called out her brother, Mahlan, mahlan, wait. Sayyida Zainab came towards her brother. Listen to what the poets say. She says, Abu Abdullah, when my grandfather died, you were with me. When my mother died, you were always alongside me. When my father died, you were the one who told me. When my brother died, you were next to me. Abu Abdullah, is this the time you leave your own sister alone? Tonight, those of you who've been to Karbala, you know where I'm going. Remember the graves. Remember those graves you've touched, your hands have touched. Then she said to him, Abu Abdullah, when my mother, before she died, she told me to do something. He said to her, what is it? She said, Abu Abdullah, this shirt, my mother said, give it to Abu Abdullah. When he is walking towards his final moments, give him this shirt. Why? Because the shirt is meant to protect the chest of Abu Abdullah. I asked Sayyida Zainab, your shirt that you gave Abu Abdullah, the horses, they ripped into it on the 11th of Muharram. Then Sayyida Zainab came. Do you know what she did? She kissed Abu Abdullah on his head. She kissed Abu Abdullah on his neck. She kissed Abu Abdullah on his chest. She kissed him on his head because he's about to be struck on his head. She kissed him on his neck because in a moment, Abu Abdullah, she kissed him on his chest because she knew that chest, the horses of Bani Umayyah would trample on the chest. Abu Abdullah now went towards the army. They began showering arrows towards Abu Abdullah. He came to them, he said, am I not the grandson of Rasulullah? Am I not the grandson of Khadija? Am I not the nephew of Ja'far? Am I not the son of Fatima al-Zahra? They didn't pay any attention to Abu Abdullah. They struck arrows towards him. Abu Abdullah managed to go through them one after another until he reached the river Euphrates. Ya Abu Abdullah, I will never imagine what thirst went through you on the 10th of Muharram. Ahadith narrates when he reached the river Euphrates, he was so thirsty. But this is a moment of humanity. This next line I'm going to tell you is Abu Abdullah personified. Brothers and sisters, if you were thirsty, wouldn't you drink from the water straight away? When Abu Abdullah reached the river Euphrates, he looked towards his horse and he said, "Oh horse, you are thirsty. I want you to drink from the water before I do." Abu Abdullah, all of a sudden somebody called out, "Abu Abdullah, there are arrows attacking the woman of your tent." Abu Abdullah left the river Euphrates. He went back towards the tent, but it turned out to be a deception. Abu Abdullah now returned. Now he came out one final time. Ahadith narrate Abu Abdullah, from the amount of arrows that was on his body, he looked like a hedgehog walking. The words say that he looked like a hedgehog. Brothers and sisters, if you have seen the hedgehog, it has many spikes coming out of its body. Imagine how many arrows were on the body of Abu Abdullah. What do we see now? Abu Abdullah was attacked by all of them. They came to him from all angles. He remained valiant, but the thirst was killing him. All of a sudden, somebody shoots an arrow on the head of Abu Abdullah. He pulls out the arrow. He pulls out the arrow. Then somebody throws a stone on the face of Abu Abdullah. Majul. They throw a stone on the face of Abu Abdullah. Then the blood, he tries to remove the blood with his shirt. Mukhtar said to Harmala, "Harmala, your third arrow was against the 6-month-old. Who was your fourth arrow against?" He said, "My fourth arrow was the one I struck on the chest of Abu Abdullah." Abu Abdullah, this arrow struck his chest. All of a sudden now Abu Abdullah can't move one way and the other. Umar bin Sa'ad now, what does he say? Umar bin Sa'ad now says, "Go and finish the man off. Finish him. Finish him." Now this is the final moment. Abu Abdullah is in his final moment. I leave it with you now. Each one of them came near him. They wanted to strike him, but they were too scared. Each one of them walked away, except one man. Shimr bin al-Joshan started to walk towards Abu Abdullah. What did Sayyidah Zainab see at this moment? Sayyidah Zainab said, "He ran and I ran, and he drew and I drew, and he surveyed and I surveyed." Oh Sayyidah, what are you saying? She is looking at Shimr. He ran towards the killing field, I ran towards the killer. He drew his dagger and I drew the hope from my heart. He surveyed my brother's head and I surveyed my brother's hope. Imam Zain al-Abidin narrates, Imam al-Baqir says, when my father Zain al-Abidin was dying, there was a moment when he was dying, he began to cry. I looked at him and I said to him, "Father, why'd you cry?" I came and hugged him. He says, when I came and hugged him, he began to cry more and more and more. I said to him, "My father, why'd you cry? When now Fatima Zahra is coming towards you." This is Imam al-Baqir speaking to Zain al-Abidin. When now Fatima is coming towards you, when Rasulullah is coming towards you, when your father Abu Abdullah is coming towards you. Imam Zain al-Abidin said to Imam al-Baqir, "Oh my son Baqir, when I am dying you are on my chest. Whereas when my father Abu Abdullah was dying, do you know who was sitting on his chest?" Now I say my final words towards the angels. When Fatima al-Zahra died, Imam Hussein came near his mother's body. When he came near her, he began to cry. One of the angels, Jibreel, comes towards Imam Ali. He said to him, remove Abu Abdullah from the body of his mother. Imam Ali asked why. He said, because the angels cannot take to see Abu Abdullah crying. I have this final line for the angels. If you couldn't take seeing Abu Abdullah cry, then how did you take seeing Shimr sit on the chest of Abu Abdullah? Shimr bin the Jawshad came and sat on the chest of Abu Abdullah. Shimr bin the Jawshad took out the dagger. The neck which Rasulullah kissed was struck 12 times by Shimr bin the Jawshad. The horse of Imam Hussein ran back towards the tent. Sukaina saw this horse and looked at it and said, Ya Muharram, wa Hussein. Sukaina looked at the tent and looked at the horse and said, O horse of Abu Abdullah, tell me, where is my father Abu Abdullah? Sayyidah Zainab, do you know what she saw? All Sayyidah Zainab saw was the feet of Abu Abdullah moving in the final war.
Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. God knows how many times that verse has been repeated on this journey. How many times has someone said Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un? 71 times Sayyid al-Shuhada said it on the plains of Karbala. God knows how many times Sayyid Sajjad said it. How many times Zainab al-Kubra said it. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Radhan bi kadha'ihi wa tasliman li'amrih. Sayyid al-Shuhada said it once with Asghar in his hand. Walked towards the camp and then walked back again 7 times saying Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. What will I tell the mother? What happened to her 6-month-old? But I said yesterday that when a journey comes to an end, people begin to reflect on what has happened when it reaches its end. And yesterday we reflected on what those mothers would have felt. But today let us reflect on what Sayyid Sajjad would have felt. That Sajjad that cried for 35 years after the events of Karbala. What would Sajjad be remembering? Maybe Sajjad remembers the time when Akbar came to ask permission to go out into the battlefield. And how did Akbar ask for permission? He came in, began to kiss the hands of Sajjad. He began to kiss the feet of Sajjad and began to kiss the forehead of Sayyid Sajjad. A tear falls on the face of Sayyid Sajjad and Sayyid Sajjad comes to. He looks at his brother and says, my brother, what is this state I see you in? Akbar says, oh Sajjad, our father has become alone. Give me permission for me to go out and sacrifice myself upon my father. And then Akbar goes out, and when the voice is heard that Akbar has been killed, Akbar has been made shaheed, you know, Sayyid Sajjad asks for the cloth of the tent to be moved. And what does Sayyid Sajjad see? He sees an old father with a young son upon his shoulders, walking and falling and crying out to the children of Banu Hashim, oh, come and help Hussain carry the body of Akbar. Maybe Sayyid Sajjad remembers the wida of his father, Sayyid al-Shuhada. When Imam comes in and begins to kiss his son, Sayyid Sajjad looks at him and says, my father, what state do I see you in? And say the Shuhada says, my son, I'm going out to fight. And then one son asks his old father, oh my father, where is Qasim? Oh my father, where is Aun and Muhammad? Oh my father, where is Habib ibn Mazahir? Oh my father, where is my uncle Abbas? That you have to go out now and fight. And Imam says to him, my son, let it be known that now out of the men it's just me and you remaining. Even the 6-month-old Ali and Asghar has gone. Maybe Sayyid Sajjad is remembering that time when that call was heard, that Hussain has been killed on the place of Karbala, and he says, oh my auntie Zainab, move away the cloth. And now he no longer sees the body of his father walking, but instead says, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, and sees the head of his father upon a spear. What must have gone through the heart of that son, having to see his father in that state? But if it ended there, we would have said, yes, that was enough. But no, Sajjad's masa'ib do not end there. Sajjad's sorrows do not end there. Because Sajjad saw the burning of the tents. Sajjad saw the burning of the tents, and the babies running from one tent to the other, from the other to the third, from the third to the fourth. Sajjad saw the enemies galloping towards the babies. Not in their hands were not water, in their hand was not anything to help the babies, but in their hand were spears marching towards the babies in order to remove their hijabs. Sajjad saw all of this. Sajjad saw the blood flowing from the ears of Sukaina. Sajjad saw the blood flowing from the ears of his sister. Sajjad saw that burnt cloth on the body of his sister. Maybe Sajjad remembers being taken from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham, and how was he taken? How was he taken? Was he put upon a camel like the rest of the babies? No. Say this Sajjad was shackled from head to toe and made to walk. No, not walk, because when a man is trying to walk at the pace of the camel, he has to run. Say this Sajjad barefoot is being made to run from Kufa to Sham, from Sham all the way from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham, all the way shackled in the heat of the desert. Maybe he remembers the time on the journey when the spear of his father became stuck in the ground. And Shimr comes to say to Sajjad and says, oh Sajjad, why won't the spear of your father move? Oh Sajjad, tell your father's spear to move, or else we will whip you again. Say this Sajjad goes to the spear of his father. Oh my father, why won't you move? There's no answer. Oh my father, why won't you move? Father, why won't you answer me? I can no longer take the whips of Shimr on my back. Father, Sajjad is tired. The reply comes, Sajjad, my Sakina has fallen from the camel. I can't go anywhere without Sakina. Sajjad finds Sakina. But you know, brothers, it wasn't just Sakina that fell from the camel. Because when Sakina fell, Zainab saw her falling, and Zainab fell herself. But how did Zainab fall? Her hands are tied behind her neck, and she falls from a camel. How would have Zainab fell to the ground, face first onto the burning sands? Zainab falls to go and find Sakina. Maybe he remembers the weights of the chains upon him. Maybe he remembers the heat of the chains in the desert sun. Sayyid Sajjad was not allowed to stand in the shade at any time. And so his chains became hotter and hotter. And you know, every once in a while they would untie the ropes of the women. And instantly the 4-year-old Sakina would run to her brother. And one day she ran to her brother and hugged her brother. Sayyid Sajjad screams out. Sakina says, my brother, why are you screaming? Sajjad says, the chains have become so hot that when you hug me, they press against my skin and my skin begins to burn. Shortly after, water was given, and Sakina was given water first. But this time, in Karbala on Sham-e-Ghariba, you remember that Sakina ran into the Maqtal and said, no, I will give water to Asghar first. But this time, this 4-year-old innocent child, what does she do? She takes the water in her hand and runs towards Sayyid Sajjad and begins to pour the water on the chains of Sayyid Sajjad, saying, these chains are burning the skin of my brother. But it wasn't just Sakina that fell from the camel. How many children died on the way to Sham? And you know how they died, my brothers? The children were not tied. The women, their hands were tied behind their necks, and the children were made to hold on to their mothers. Every time the child would begin to fall asleep, his hands would, or her hands would come loose, and they would fall from the camel onto the ground, and the camels would pass over them. This is why there are so many ziyarats in Sham, where they say that this is the daughter of Hussain, this is the son of Hussain, because all they knew was that the Qafila of Hussain passed through here. Surely he must be from this family. And what must have been going through the hearts of those mothers, knowing that their child has now been killed and they are unable to do anything. But there was one place that made Sajjad cry for 35 years. 35 years Sajjad cried, saying, Asham, Asham, Asham. I don't know what happened in Sham that made Sajjad cry for 35 years. But someone came to him one day and said, Imam, after the tragedy of Karbala, Imam, why do you cry so much? Imam, why do you cry so much? Imam turned around to him and said, Yaqub lost one Yusuf, and he cried for over 80 years and became blind. I lost 14 Yusufs on the plains of Karbala in such horrific circumstances. And the man tries to comfort Sayyid Sajjad and says, oh Imam, but Shahadat is an honor for you. Shahadat is your way. Sayyid Sajjad sits to the ground and begins to cry and says, is it our way that our women have their hijabs removed? Is it our way that our women are made to go to Sham? Is it our way that our women are brought in front of the drunkard and made to stand there while he points fingers at her and says, is this Zainab bint Ali? And then in that zindan, in that prison, Imam is still shackled. And there comes a time now when he has to bury Sakina. Tell me, brothers, how does a man that is shackled from head to toe lift the body of his sister? How does a man dig a grave and bury his sister? Did she have coffin? No, that same cloth that she wore, that same shirt that she had from Karbala became the coffin of Sakina. You know, they say that there are two people within history, according to some riwayats, whose clothes had become so stuck to their body that there were parts of it were unable to be removed for coffin. One was Sayyidah Fatima al-Zahra after the door fell on her, and the other was Sakina bint al-Hussain that lies still today in that dungeon of Yazid. But then this caravan had to come to Medina after passing from Karbala, and after every bibi fell on the graves of the Shuhada. But you know, before leaving the prisons of Yazid, everyone is ready, the camels are ready, and the bibis are ready to leave, but there's one bibi that's missing. And you all know who that bibi is. Where is Bab? Where is Rabab? They come to Sayyidina Sajjad. Sayyidina Sajjad says, I know where Rabab is. Go into the prison, you will find Rabab there. They go in and they find Bibi Rabab against the grave of Sakina and saying, oh my daughter Sakina, where should this mother go? What has this mother left? Asghar is in Karbala. Your father is in Karbala and I'm leaving you now in Sham. They say, Rabab, we must go. Bibi Rabab turns to the women of Sham and says, my Sakina was very afraid of the dark. If it's not too much bother, come in here and light a candle every night so that Sakina is not afraid. And when they reach to Karbala, and everyone falls upon the graves and they begin to cry, they begin to weep. Those women that had not been able to weep for a whole year are now able to weep on the graves of their shuhada. But then there comes a time when it is time to go to Medina. I don't know what it must feel like to see the city or see the walls of that city from which you went over a year ago. And having to face so many difficulties along the way. But there was only one thing that Kulthum could say when she saw the walls of the city of Medina. She said, Ya Medina tujaddina la taqbalina. Oh the Medina, oh the city of my grandfather, do not accept us, because when we left there were many with us, and now we return there are only few with us. We have left Akbar, we have left Qasim, we have left Asghar, we have left Abbas, we have left Awan and Muhammad, and we have left Hussain sleeping in Karbala, and we have left Sakina in Sham. Inside Medina it was announced that Hussein's family have returned from Sham. And the people of Banu Hashim come out in order to meet their family members. But there's one girl who comes out and she's looking around for her brother. She's looking around for her brother Sayyidina Sajjad. She looks around, but everyone else is busy. All she can see is one old man sitting down by the side. An old man whose hair has gone white. She goes to him and says, oh old man, please tell me if you know where Sayyidina Sajjad is. Sajjad looks up at his sister and he says, do you not recognize me? Oh, it is me, Sajjad. What Sajjad has seen in Karbala, what Sajjad has seen in Kufa, what Sajjad has seen in Sham has made Sajjad old. Then she said, okay, I'll say this, Sajjad. Oh, my brother, where is Asghar? He must be a lot bigger now. When he left, he was very young. Where is Asghar? Where is Rabab? And say this, Sajjad, how does he tell that sister what happened to that 6-month-old child? Then the people come out and begin to meet the Ahl Haram. Hazrat Abdullah comes to say this Sajjad and he hugs say this Sajjad. Say this Sajjad cries out, uncle, slowly, the whips of Shimr and the chains of Yazid and the wounds that they had inflicted upon my body have yet not healed. But there was one other time that Sajjad cried out, my brothers. There was one other time that Sajjad cried out, and that was when Sajjad was on his deathbed. And Imam Baqir runs and goes onto the chest of his father and begins to cry. Sayyidina Sajjad begins to wail. Imam Baqir says, oh my father, why are you crying? Sayyidina Sajjad says, today you are on my chest, but my mind was to Karbala. Ash-Shimru jalasun ala sadrin. On the chest of my father was Shimr. In his hand was a blunt dagger, and he was hacking away at the neck of my father. Pay condolences to Zainab Kubra. That Zainab, you know, they say from the death of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Zainab never cried again. Because Zainab became the trust, became the support of all the women. Zainab didn't cry again because she didn't want to dishearten or alarm any of the other women. Zainab kept it within herself until she reaches Karbala and she begins to cry for her brother. But you know, the whole way she cries for Imam Hussein. In Sham, when the heads come, she takes the head of Sayyid al-Shuhada. The heads of Aun and Muhammad are left by the side. The women of Sham begin talking amongst themselves and say, I think these two children's mother has died, because no one would leave them to a side. Zainab raises her head and looks towards them and says, no, Zainab is still alive. But Zainab was unable to cry for her brother. So now let Zainab cry for her brother. But then there comes a time when Zainab returns home. When Zainab returns home, she enters into a house with Hazrat Abdullah. And she looks around. Hazrat Abdullah says, oh, the daughter of Zahra, I offer you condolences on the death of your brothers. And they begin to cry. Then Sayyidah Zainab goes to a small room at the back. They goes to a small room at the back that has been locked since she left. And she opens it up and looks inside and sees the two small musallas of Aun and Muhammad. Zainab never cried for Aun and Muhammad. She gave them in the way of Sayyid al-Shuhada. Your one thing that happened on the plains of Karbala, when the bodies of Aun and Muhammad were brought back inside the tents and they were lied down inside the tents, one of the brothers was still alive. Imam says to Zainab, Zainab, come, your son is leaving this world, at least once come and listen to what he is saying. Bibi Zainab comes to him, the son is whispering something. Bibi Zainab puts her ear towards his lips and he says, my mother, I swear by you that we reached to the Furat, but we never drank from Furat. This Zainab that never cried for her sons now sees the two musallas of Aun and Muhammad, those small musallas in their room. She walks in and sits in between the musallas. At the end of the day, Zainab is still a mother. Zainab begins to cry, looking at the beds of Aun and Muhammad, looking at the musallas of Aun and Muhammad. She says, oh Abdullah, come and give Zainab condolences for her sons, because Zainab has cried for her brother from Karbala to Kufa, from Kufa to Sham. Now Zainab wishes to cry for her sons. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.